Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and as it's recently been released on Nintendo Switch Online, we're reviewing for you Donkey Kong for the Nintendo Game Boy. This review was originally written by the lovely Marcel Van Dyne, and it's been adapted for video by me. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. In 1994, Nintendo had a great idea. Why not make a true sequel to the original Donkey Kong arcade game? The result is Donkey Kong for the Game Boy, which is generally referred to as Donkey Kong 94, primarily to avoid confusion, which also birthed the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series. When you first start the game up, you might feel a little bit like you've been ripped off, as it starts with the exact same 4 stages you can find in the arcade original, including the Cement Factory stage, which was removed from the NES game. I always thought it was a pie stage. Just as you begin to think that this was a waste of money and that you've beaten the final stage, there's a sudden twist. Donkey Kong isn't defeated just yet, but grabs Pauline and flees the construction site as she screams in a way that only a Game Boy can. Mario now has to chase DK through 9 more worlds with a total of 97 new levels before he can rescue Pauline for real. In most stages, Donkey Kong will run through a doorway which he then locks, leaving Mario to search the stage and find the key before he can continue the chase. In every 4th stage, however, there is no locked door and key. Instead, Mario must face his original nemesis, old school style. Most of the time, this generally just involves reaching the top where Pauline is, just very much like the arcade original, but in the final stage of each world, you'll actually be battling Donkey Kong, picking up barrels or other objects he throws at you and hurling them right back in his AP face. Depending on the world you're in, the regular stages have various puzzles to solve. The first world, Big City, which looks a lot like New Donk, has a lot of clotheslines and electricity cables that Mario can hang from and slowly begins spinning around them, enabling him to eventually jump off at high speed and reach much higher places than he would be able to otherwise. The other worlds are all vastly different, with completely different enemies, platforms, backgrounds, music, and puzzles. Something you may notice when playing the original arcade levels is that Mario now has an expanded array of moves at his disposal. You've got the standard jump, obviously, but you can also perform backflips and a triple jump, which in this one you've got to achieve by doing a handstand first, just like real life. And it makes Mario feel a hell of a lot more athletic than he ever has beforehand, at least for 2D Mario in 1994. Another positive change from the original is that falling from the smallest heights no longer kills you. Instead, Mario will land squarely on his feet if the drop is slight, and should you fall from a high place, he'll begin to slowly turn upside down in midair, and if he lands on his head, then that's game over, or at least losing a life. But if you land on your side, you can just be momentarily stunned, and there's even bits in between when he can end up doing a forward roll and not be stunned for quite so long. Since Mario can pick up objects such as keys, you might be inclined to think he can pick other things up as well, and you'd be right. Game design. As long as an enemy isn't covered in spikes, Mario can jump on top of them, much like in Super Mario Bros. 2, and if they're not too heavy, also pick them up and you can then do what you like with them. It's usually throwing. You can use this throw to get them out of the way, stick them somewhere they can't do any harm, or just change their location in order to help you solve a puzzle. You've also got switches to interact with, which will extend or remove bridges, as well as open and close gates. Another useful game element is the temporary platform. In various levels, you can find a little white square with something in it, usually arrows or a block or something like that. And touching one of these allows you to place that object freely in any space on the level, as long as there's not already something there. These temporary items also include ladders, springs, blocks, in addition to the platform that I mentioned a few sentences ago. The time on screen is short, but if you manage to place another item before the previous one disappears, that timer is reset, meaning you can chain various platforms and different items to complete puzzles or just have fun. In the old arcade days, Mario had a few items to pick up when fighting Donkey Kong. There was an umbrella, a hat, a purse, and even hammers, and the hammers were the useful ones, although you couldn't jump properly. Thankfully, this time around, hammers are back, but this time, you can actually do more with them than you could before. You don't have to wait until they disappear. Instead, you can just throw the hammer up, and maybe you can throw the hammer up, climb up a ladder, grab it again, and suddenly, you've got a hammer on an upper level. You couldn't do that before. What's more, you're not just going to be defeating enemies enemies and destroying barrels, hammers can also be used to destroy certain blocks and create new passages. The umbrella, purse and hat can also be found in every single normal stage, although their only purpose is to provide access to an extra live bonus minigame if you manage to pick up all three, or you could just try and grab them for fun. But it's a bit of a waste of time, to be honest, as extra lives are plentiful throughout the stages, and after every fourth stage, the total time you had left in each level is converted into extra lives, which is more than enough. We honestly started avoiding these extra items so that we didn't have to go through the bonus minigame every single time, because we just did not need any more lives, and you won't either. As Game Boy games go, this game is absolutely stunning when it comes to its visuals and audio. The graphics are incredibly detailed for the time. Mario and Donkey Kong and Junior, who appears later on, Pauline and all the various enemies have simple designs, but they emit such charm you can't help but fall in love with them. Each of the 9 worlds has its own theme music as well, and every single one of them is a banger. SNES-based enhancements were originally possible through the Super Game Boy, although these are unfortunately unsupported in the Virtual Console and Nintendo Switch Online releases. These include a wonderful border around the screen resembling an arcade cabinet, color graphics, changing Pauline's digitized yelps to actual real human sounds, and even upgrading the credits music to SNES quality. In terms of value and longevity, if the main game's 101 stages aren't enough to satisfy you, then you can replay any stage you've already beaten, although you can only start at every 4th stage in each world. And there's a best times list featuring, your best times, should you want to aim for the best time. First impressions can be misleading, and Donkey Kong 94 for the Game Boy is far more than a simple sequel to the arcade game. It adds a metric ton of new features while still managing to keep the arcadey feel of the original. The graphics and music are outstanding for a 1994 Game Boy title, and the game itself remains incredibly fun to play, even if you do receive an overabundance of extra lives. It may not be part of the main Mario series, or indeed the main Donkey Kong series, but this is easily one of the best Mario games ever made. Donkey Kong 94, you're getting a 9 out of 10 from us. You've reached the end of the review, and that means it's time for Alex's personal thoughts, and to be honest, I don't have an awful lot to add. This is a fantastic game, and I've played it plenty of times before, but it is always a joy to revisit it. It's very digestible, you know? The levels are very short and snappy, and it makes it feel, well, I mean, it's a Game Boy game. It's designed to be pick up and play, and lordy, is it just that. But I can't deny, I'm not the biggest fan of the way that Mario moves. It's nothing to do with the extra moves or anything like that. They're great fun and add some real versatility that's absolutely necessary for a game like this. But there are certain instances where Mario's just weirdly slippery and imprecise, and it feels very old-fashioned in that regard. And that's probably because it's nearly 30 years... Oh, it's more than 30 years old. And I suppose a large part of it is expectations have changed. But there are instances where it demands a lot of precision, or at least it did the way that I played it. It's entirely possible that I completely flummoxed the puzzle and did it some weird way round. But when it does demand precision, it doesn't always manage to kind of nail that mark. The jump height is very unforgiving for certain enemies, and again, that could be absolutely intentional. The same was true with the arcade game, but, you know, that was even older still. But there are just a few instances where Mario's movement, combined with the level design, just doesn't quite mesh as well as it does in other levels. There are plenty of levels where it's basically flawless. It works brilliantly. But then there are others where it just doesn't quite gel. And whilst I'm nitpicking, I would like to complain about Pauline's screams of help. They're really piercing. I don't know whether it's just my speaker setup or something like that, but they really grate, and I had to turn the volume right down in order to be able to bear it. But these are small issues. As I say, they're nitpicks, but it's something that I experienced when replaying it that I didn't really notice originally, and I don't fully know why. Again, could just be my speaker setup. We'll never know. Well, we might, but I'm not going to tell you. But if you've never played this game before, you absolutely owe it to yourself to fire it up. I mean, it's free on NSO now, and give it a go. You don't have to play the whole game in one go if you don't want to, but it's probably going to happen.